Rigs. There are currently 6 of them in the Outlast Trials, but which ones are severely overhyped garbage and which ones are actually useful? I made a video talking about rigs before, and some people pointed out that my perspective might have been a little short-sighted. So today, we're going to be going through all rigs and ranking them based on a tier system. This tier system will be measuring by how useful they are, and it ranges from absolutely nerfing the game to just being straight up bloat in your loadout. This tier system will be based on what I think, and you might have different opinions. So a D tier rig for me might be an S tier rig for you, but I will try my best to avoid confirmation bias and view all the perks of the rigs as objectively as I can. So we are going to be starting with the first rig that ever came out, the stun rig. I think all of us can collectively agree that this is just a fantastic rig and is great for multiple cases. You could use it for regenerating your battery, regenerating your stamina, really anything you need. In my eyes, it contains everything that I would want in a rig, so I'm going to be sliding this into S tier. I just think that being able to recharge your stamina, recharge your battery, and also stun enemies in the process is just very beneficial. And its cooldown time isn't even the longest out of the bunch. Now we move on to the next rig, the blind rig. I actually can't think of many cases where this could be useful. Somebody mentioned that in Pleasure the Prosecutor, while you're going through the release process, you could place this down, but you're just moving so frequently and the enemies are in a constant agitated state, this won't really help. However, it is nowhere near the worst on this list, but because it can literally save your life at the end of a trial while you're waiting for the shuttle, I think it's quite useful, and there's also other tiny use case scenarios that you could use this for. Like in Tilt the Scales of Justice, we are finding the code for the evidence box. Because of this, I will put it at a solid A tier. It's not as good as stun, but it's not necessarily bad either. So I'm going to slide in A. The heal rig. I just don't see a use for this. If you want health, you find it using X-ray. The heal is just useless unless you're in a group of 4 people. I don't think it's necessarily terrible. This could actually be useful for Mother Gooseberry maps on Psychosurgery because you could die from bleeding by just 1 hit from her. So this could save you, definitely. But because of its limited use cases and just its general lack of features, I have to slide this in a C tier. I do understand that it slows down enemies, but that feature has been nerfed like twice now. It's not even something worth using it for because you're better off using blind or stun if you want to slow down enemies. So now we have the X-ray rig, and this one's an interesting one because I used to think this was the worst rig in the game aside from heal, but then I started using it and realizing, wait, this is actually really cool. It allows you to see secondary objectives like the TVs and under surveillance. It allows you to find health. It allows you to find boxes on Eliminate the Past. It allows you to find objectives on Teach the Police Officer, and so many more, because finding wherever your objective randomly spawned with this is so easy. And its cooldown time is extremely short as well, so you can basically just use it over and over again. Maybe a 30-second cooldown if I'm remembering correctly. Because of its low cooldown time in multi-use scenarios, I'm going to be putting it in an A tier, and I would say it's better than blind, so I'm going to put it above blind just like this. So we have blind, let's say blind is an A minus and X-ray is just a normal A. Because I wouldn't say it's worth a B tier, because I think that it just has so many cool use cases that I didn't know about until recently. And I do tend to run this rig on Eliminate the Past pretty much all the time now, so that's why I'm going to be throwing it in A, just a little bit better than the blind rig. Barricade. Potentially, oh my god. Potentially the worst rollout for a rig ever. It literally just lets you block doors. And I'm not kidding when I say this, I've never used this rig except for one time for trying it out. I just can't see using this to slow down enemies when most doors have a lock on them, and the animation time it takes for them to bash down the door is plenty of time to run away. The only use case I could think of is if you don't have any of the stamina prescriptions yet, and you need something to like block a door so that way you can get your stamina back and not get hits. That's the only use case. I can't think of anything else. And because of this, I'm gonna put it in D. This is just not a good rig. I don't use it. I don't know anyone who uses it. I know some people do, and I'm sure they find their own use for it, but for me, this is just not it. And now we move on to the final rig, which is the jammer. I actually quite like this one. I usually run this when I'm playing with a friend to get rig rechargers. Either my friend or I run it so we can get rig rechargers for our stun. And I actually have a newfound appreciation for this rig because it saved one of my escalation runs while with a friend because of its self-revive feature. I think that some of the features like breaking TVs and making enemies puke is just useless and it's really just for fun. But some of the features like setting up enemy traps, if the enemy trap is actually set up in a good place, then it could be useful for that. Of course, you can get infinite rig rechargers and locked blue containers. You can self-revive in escalation. I just think it's great, but it doesn't have a particular high amount of use cases. Sure, you can get rig rechargers. Sure, you can activate enemy traps against them, but those are in very limited occasions. And the only thing I do use this for is rig rechargers. So because of that, I'm going to be sliding it in the B tier. It's definitely not, I wouldn't put it in the same tier as blind and x-ray. I think that this is a fair spot for it. It's a middle ground. It could even help you and your team get health items, which is useful. But let me know in the comments if you do agree with my list here. I think that this is pretty accurate, at least for my playstyle. I know there are probably a lot of people out there who think the same thing, but if there's anything you would like to point out about the rigs that I may have missed in this video, please let me know in the comments. But remember, your rig alone won't dictate how good you are at the game. So make sure to check out this video to learn how to get good at the Outlast Trials.